The shuttle hummed softly, its smooth silver walls reflecting Adam Carter's tense expression. He shifted in his seat, watching the luminous planet of Helios grow larger on the view screen. The green and gold hues of its surface shimmered like a living jewel against the void. Adam tried to distract himself from the weight of his new assignment, but the looming meeting with the Hellion Council pressed heavily on his mind. "First time seeing Helios?" asked the man seated next to him. Adam glanced over. The speaker was a broad-shouldered man in a weathered flight jacket. His sharp green eyes twinkled with curiosity. "Yeah," Adam replied, trying not to sound too nervous. "You?" The man chuckled. "Not quite. I've been here a few times, business trips mostly. Name's Elias, by the way." He extended a hand. "Adam," he replied, shaking it firmly. "What kind of business?" Elias leaned back, smirking. "Oh, the usual. Negotiations, contracts, a bit of tech exchange. Helios is, well, you'll see soon enough. Just don't let the council intimidate you." Adam raised an eyebrow. "I've heard they're strict, but I'm not here to cause trouble. I'm just supposed to help open some channels, build trust." "Trust, huh?" Elias chuckled again, though this time it lacked humor. "Good luck with that. The Helions don't take kindly to improvisation. If you stray too far from the protocols, you might find yourself on the next shuttle back home." Adam frowned but said nothing. He already knew this mission wouldn't be easy. His job was to pave the way for future trade agreements, encourage cultural exchanges, and improve relations after years of cold formality. He was determined to make it work, no matter the challenges. When the shuttle landed, Adam followed Elias through a series of brightly lit corridors. Hellion architecture was unlike anything Adam had ever seen. The walls glowed softly, as if illuminated from within, and the air carried a faint floral scent. The sheer beauty of the place made him momentarily forget his anxiety. Elias glanced over his shoulder. "I know you've got an agenda to stick to, but let me give you a piece of advice. Keep your ears open and your mouth shut until you know what they're really saying." Adam smirked. "That's generally how I handle first meetings." When they reached the main chamber, a Hellion attendant greeted them with a graceful bow. Her shimmering robes flowed like liquid light, and her voice carried an almost musical quality. "Ambassador Carter, welcome. Please follow me. The council is ready to meet you." Elias gave Adam a quick nod. "See you around. Don't forget what I said." Adam stepped forward, his heart pounding. The room he entered was vast, its walls a tapestry of flowing colors. At the center stood a circular table surrounded by Hellion officials. Each member was tall and slender, their features delicate yet angular, their skin faintly iridescent. Their eyes, luminous and shifting in hue, regarded him with keen interest. One of them, a female Hellion with silvery hair, spoke first. "Ambassador Carter, we have been informed of your mission. We hope you find your time here productive." Her tone was polite, but distant. Adam inclined his head. "Thank you for having me. I look forward to learning about Hellion culture and finding ways we can collaborate." The council exchanged glances. The woman who had spoken, whom Adam guessed was their leader, gestured for him to take a seat. "Very well. Let us begin." The meeting stretched on for hours. The Helions asked precise questions about Earth's intentions, their economy, and the technologies they hoped to share. Adam carefully navigated the conversation, mindful of Elias's earlier warning. The Helions were direct and methodical, leaving no room for ambiguity. Adam answered honestly, doing his best to convey humanity's willingness to cooperate without seeming overly eager. By the time they adjourned, Adam felt as if he'd run a mental marathon. The council members stood gracefully, signaling the end of the session. The leader offered a polite nod. "We will review your proposals and reconvene tomorrow." "Thank you," Adam said, rising from his seat. Outside the chamber, he leaned against a smooth, glowing wall and exhaled. Elias approached from a nearby corridor. "How'd it go?" "They didn't kick me out, so I'll call that a win," Adam replied, a wry smile tugging at his lips. Elias laughed. "See? You're learning. But don't get too comfortable. They'll keep you on your toes." "Noted," Adam said. "What's next?" Elias gestured down the hallway. "Now you get to see a bit more of Helios. I've got some contacts who can show you around. Just remember, this place runs on logic and precision. Don't try to charm your way through. Let your actions do the talking." Adam nodded, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. As they walked together through the luminous corridors of Helios, he couldn't help but feel that this assignment would be anything but ordinary. Chapter 2, Colliding Worlds. Adam adjusted his translator earpiece as he stepped into the Hellion research facility. The room was as pristine and luminous as everything else on Helios, its surfaces reflecting a faint glow that made it feel more like stepping into a piece of art than a lab. The air was cool and still, and every instrument seemed perfectly placed, as if the Helians could not tolerate even the slightest imperfection. Standing by a long, curved console was Zaya, the Hellion scientist assigned as Adam's partner on this project. She glanced at him briefly, her expression unreadable, before returning her attention to the holographic display in front of her. Adam was certain she had been aware of his presence the moment he walked in. "I'm not late, am I?" he asked, trying to break the silence. "You are within the scheduled parameters," Zaya replied without looking up. "For now, that is sufficient." Adam raised an eyebrow. "Well, that's a relief. I wouldn't want to ruin your impression of human punctuality." Zaya turned to face him fully. "I have no preconceptions about your species' timekeeping, Ambassador Carter. My concern is the efficiency of our collaboration. Personal habits are irrelevant." "Good to know," Adam said, flashing a faint smile. He moved to stand beside her, peering at the hologram. "What are we looking at?" "This," Zaya said, gesturing with a slender hand, "is the initial schematic of the data relay we are tasked with refining. Its current iteration is highly inefficient. Your human expertise in adaptive networking is supposed to improve its performance." "Supposed to, huh?" Adam muttered. "Well, I'll see what I can do." He stepped closer to the console, studying the projections. Zaya observed him silently, her gaze sharp and unyielding. Adam could feel her scrutiny and decided to address it head-on. "You don't seem particularly thrilled about this partnership," he said. Zaya blinked once, slowly. "I do not experience emotions as you do. Thrill is not relevant. My goal is efficiency." "Okay, sure," Adam replied, suppressing a grin. But still, Zaya interrupted, "I question whether your methods will align with ours. Humans are known for improvisation and emotional responses. That could hinder our progress." Adam straightened, crossing his arms. "Maybe. Or maybe it'll bring a fresh perspective. You might be surprised what a little creativity can accomplish." Zaya tilted her head slightly as if considering his words. "Creativity must be applied within a logical framework. Otherwise, it risks becoming disorderly." "Fair enough," Adam said. "I'll try not to wreck your perfect system." Zaya regarded him for a moment longer before returning her attention to the schematic. "I have identified several points where the relay's throughput is below acceptable thresholds. Your task will be to address these deficiencies using your adaptive algorithms. I trust you have prepared the necessary adjustments." "I have some ideas," Adam said, moving to a nearby workstation. "But I'll need to run a few simulations first. I don't want to make any changes that could cause instability." Zaya nodded curtly. "Proceed." They worked in silence for a while, the only sounds coming from the quiet hum of the equipment and the occasional soft beeps of the holographic interface. Adam focused on his simulation models, double-checking every variable. He could feel Zaya's presence beside him, a steady, watchful presence that never seemed to waver. After a while, Adam broke the silence. "You know, you could ask me questions. It might make things easier." Zaya glanced at him. "What sort of questions?" "Anything, really. If you don't understand something about my approach, or if you think there's a better way to do something, just say so. I'm not going to get offended." "I am fully capable of analyzing your methods without prompting," Zaya said, though her tone softened slightly. "However, if I find your reasoning unclear, I will request clarification." "Good," Adam said. "That's all I'm asking." For the first time, he noticed a faint flicker of what might have been curiosity in her expression. It was subtle, almost imperceptible, but it gave him hope that their partnership might eventually become more than a cold, clinical collaboration. "By the way," he said, looking up from his console, "why were you assigned to this project? What's your specialty?" Zaya hesitated for a fraction of a second. "I am a specialist in quantum data transfer and multidimensional signal integrity. The Council selected me because of my expertise in optimizing complex communication systems. And here I thought I was the expert in complex communication," Adam said with a grin. Zaya raised an eyebrow. "You refer to interpersonal communication?" "Exactly," Adam replied. "Sometimes the hardest networks to navigate are the ones between people." Zaya regarded him for a moment longer before returning to her work. Adam couldn't tell if she found his remark insightful, amusing, or completely irrelevant. But at least she hadn't dismissed it outright. They continued their tasks, each focused on their respective responsibilities, yet aware of the other's presence. As the hours passed, Adam felt a gradual shift in their dynamic. Zaya's comments became slightly more collaborative, her tone a bit less formal. While she still approached everything with precise logic, she started to engage with him rather than simply directing him. By the time they finished their initial session, Adam felt a cautious optimism. It was a small step, but it was a step nonetheless. If they could keep building on that foundation, maybe, just maybe, they'd figure out a way to make this partnership work. Chapter 3: The Taste of Starlight. Adam stood at the edge of the sky garden, marveling at the sight before him. A glowing cascade of bioluminescent flowers stretched across a crystalline balcony that seemed to hang effortlessly in the air. Above, the twin moons of Helios cast their gentle light, creating an ethereal glow over the city below. The air was warm, faintly perfumed by the alien blooms. For a moment, he let himself forget the pressures of diplomacy and simply breathe in the beauty of the place. Behind him, he heard footsteps. Turning, he saw Elias approaching with a relaxed stride, his hands in the pockets of his jacket. "Quite a view, isn't it?" Elias said, his voice low and casual. "Stunning," Adam replied. "I don't think I'll ever get used to it." Elias stopped beside him and leaned against the balcony railing. "No one ever does. That's the thing about Helios, it's got this way of making you feel like you're seeing it for the first time, no matter how long you stay." "Have you been coming here for a while?" Adam asked. "Off and on," Elias said. "Trade delegations, tech deals. Not as glamorous as it sounds, believe me. But the place, it's something else. Makes the whole spending half your life on a shuttle thing almost worth it." Adam chuckled softly. "I'll take your word for it." They stood in silence for a moment, watching the moon's light ripple over the distant golden spires. Then Elias spoke again. "So," he said, "you made it through the first council session in one piece." "That's not nothing." "It was intense," Adam admitted. "But I think I held my own." "Zaya's been a tough partner, though. Feels like she's got this wall around her." Elias shrugged. "Most Helians do. Logic over emotion, remember? They're not exactly known for small talk or warm and fuzzy friendships." "I get that," Adam said. "But there's more to her than just logic. I can see it. I just haven't figured out how to get past her defenses yet." "You might not," Elias said bluntly. "Or if you do, it'll take time. They don't open up easily. But hey, if anyone can get through to her, it's you. You've got that human charm." Adam laughed. "Human charm? I think she finds that more irritating than endearing." "Maybe at first," Elias said, a smirk tugging at his lips. "But give it time. Sometimes that's all you need, time and a few shared moments. Who knows, maybe you'll find common ground." Adam nodded, his gaze drifting back to the glowing cityscape. "Common ground," he murmured. "That's the goal." Before he could say more, a soft chime sounded from Elias's wristband. The older man glanced at it, then gave Adam a pat on the shoulder. "I've got to run," he said. "Keep it, Ambassador. And don't forget to enjoy the view now and then. You're still human, after all." With that, Elias turned and walked away, leaving Adam alone once more. He stayed there for a while, taking in the surreal beauty of Helios under the twin moons. His thoughts wandered back to Zaya, the way her eyes seemed to shift subtly in color when she was deep in thought, the precision of her movements, the way she spoke, as if every word was chosen with care. There was something intriguing about her, something that made him want to understand her better. Adam let out a long breath and leaned against the balcony railing. "Common ground," he repeated softly. "Let's hope we find it." Chapter 4: Whispered Sparks. The laboratory was quiet except for the faint hum of the holographic projectors. Adam sat at his workstation, sifting through a series of simulations on a glowing display. The data lines blurred together after a while, and he rubbed his eyes, letting out a tired sigh. Across the room, Zaya worked at her own console, her posture as straight as ever. She had been engrossed in calibrating a neural interface model for hours, her fingers moving deftly over the controls. Every so often, Adam would glance at her, half expecting her to turn and ask for an update. But she remained silent, focused on her task. The silence was starting to get to him. "Zaya," he said, not looking up from his screen. "Have you ever worked on a project like this before?" She didn't turn, but she did respond after a brief pause. "Define like this. Something where you're collaborating with someone from another species." Adam clarified. "No," Zaya said simply. Adam raised an eyebrow. No curiosity about how it might go. Zaya's hands stilled, and she finally turned to face him. "I do not rely on curiosity to dictate my approach. I follow established protocols, examine the data, and adapt as necessary." "Sounds a bit dry," Adam said, offering her a faint grin. "You've never wondered what humans are like outside of all this formal diplomacy? I understand humans as a species, their behavioral tendencies and societal structures," Zaya replied. "Beyond that, my interest is limited to the scope of this project." Adam leaned back in his chair, folding his arms. "Okay, then what's your impression so far?" Am I as predictable as the studies suggest? Zaya regarded him with an almost imperceptible tilt of her head. Not entirely. Care to elaborate? You exhibit certain traits that align with known human behavioral patterns, she said. Your preference for dialogue over direct action, your attempts to build rapport, and your inclination to inject humor into serious matters. However, there are instances where your responses deviate from the expected. Sounds like you've been keeping tabs on me, Adam said, his grin widening. I am merely observing, Zaya said, though her tone softened slightly. It is necessary to understand your methods in order to maintain an efficient partnership. Efficient, Adam echoed, shaking his head. You really love that word. Zaya's gaze didn't waver. Efficiency is the foundation of progress. And here I thought progress came from a mix of creativity and effort, Adam countered. Creativity must be disciplined, Zaya replied. Otherwise, it leads to chaos. Adam smirked. So you're saying I need more discipline? I am saying you would benefit from refining your approach, Zaya said without hesitation. Adam couldn't help but laugh. Fair enough. I'll take that under advisement. They lapsed into another silence, but this time it felt less heavy. Adam returned to his work, occasionally glancing up to see if Zaya would say more. She didn't, but her presence felt a little less distant, a little more accessible. After a while, Adam spoke again. You know, if we're going to be working together like this, it wouldn't hurt to learn more about each other. Not just the professional stuff. Something personal. Zaya's hands paused mid-gesture. She seemed to consider his words carefully before answering. What do you propose? Just something simple, Adam said. What's your favorite Hellion dish? Or maybe a piece of music you like? Zaya's expression shifted ever so slightly as if she were weighing the pros and cons of engaging in such a discussion. I do not prioritize personal preferences in my daily routine, she said at last. However, there is a particular composition from my formative years that I find calming. Adam's eyebrows lifted in surprise. Really? What's it called? It does not have a direct translation, Zaya said. But in Hellion, it would be something akin to the harmony of the 8 tides. It is a complex arrangement meant to simulate the rhythmic patterns of the planetary cycles. Sounds beautiful, Adam said. You'll have to play it for me sometime. Zaya hesitated. I do not typically share personal interests. Well, consider me an exception, Adam said, flashing her a warm smile. Besides, you already know all about Earth's cultural quirks. It's only fair that I learn something about yours. Zaya's gaze lingered on him for a moment longer than usual before she nodded slightly. Perhaps. Adam couldn't help but feel a small surge of satisfaction. It was the first time she had even slightly opened up to him. It wasn't much, but it was something, a small step toward understanding the woman behind the logic. Chapter 5, Bound by Logic, Freed by Feeling. Adam stood in the archive chamber, his hands resting on his hips as he stared up at the glowing columns of data. The Helians stored their historical records in towering crystalline structures that seemed to pulse gently with light. It was a striking departure from the hard drives and cloud servers Adam was used to back on Earth. Elias leaned against one of the columns, watching Adam with a faint grin. You look like a kid in a candy store. Don't tell me you're this impressed by a bunch of glowing rocks. It's not the glowing rocks, Adam said, flashing a grin of his own. It's what they represent. A whole civilization's history preserved in a way we can barely imagine. This is incredible. Elias shook his columns. But it's hard not to be impressed. Look at the craftsmanship, the precision. Every one of these is a testament to their culture. Elias snorted. Culture, sure. I just hope you're not planning to spend the whole day admiring their architecture. We've got work to do. Adam smirked. Relax. I'm just soaking it in. Besides, it's not every day you get to stand inside the beating heart of an alien civilization's history. Fair enough, Elias said, straightening up. But remember, you've got a meeting with Zaya in less than an hour. I don't think she'll appreciate you showing up late because you were gawking at the archives. I'll be there on time, Adam assured him. Elias grinned. Good. Because if you're late, she might decide you're more trouble than you're worth. And trust me, you don't want to be on her bad side. Adam laughed. Noted. As Elias wandered off to explore another section of the archives, Adam stayed behind, still captivated by the glow of the crystalline columns. He reached out, his fingers brushing against the smooth, cool surface. It felt alive, almost as if it was responding to his touch. He wondered how many lifetimes of knowledge were contained within these structures, how much humanity could learn if they were able to fully decipher and understand them. But the moment of quiet reflection was short-lived. Adam's communicator beeped softly, reminding him that it was time to head to his meeting. With a final glance at the archives, he turned and made his way out of the chamber, his thoughts already shifting to Zaya and the project they were tackling together. When Adam entered the research lab, Zaya was already there, studying a series of data projections. Her silver hair shimmered under the soft, ambient light, and she barely glanced up as he walked in. "You are on time," she remarked without looking away from her work. "Was there ever any doubt?" Adam replied, moving to stand beside her. "There is always the possibility of unforeseen delays," Zaya said. "However, it appears that this time you have avoided such complications." Adam chuckled. "I'll take that as a compliment." Zaya finally looked at him, her expression neutral but her eyes sharp. "You are unusually optimistic for a species that is still adapting to interstellar relations." "What can I say? We like to see the silver lining," Adam said. "Silver lining," Zaya repeated, her tone thoughtful. "A metaphor for hope amidst difficulty. An interesting perspective." "It's just how we operate," Adam said. "Sometimes it helps to focus on the positives, even when things aren't going perfectly." Zaya considered his words for a moment, then turned back to the data. "Perhaps there is some merit in that approach. Though I prefer to rely on facts and probabilities, I acknowledge that your perspective has yielded some useful insights." "See? We're not so different after all," Adam said, leaning against the console. "I would not go that far," Zaya said, but there was a faint trace of humor in her voice. Adam smiled, sensing a small shift in her demeanor. "Hey, small steps. We'll get there eventually." Zaya raised an eyebrow. "You are persistent, I will grant you that." "Persistent is just another way of saying determined," Adam said. "Perhaps," Zaya replied, her tone lighter than usual. "Now let us return to the task at hand. The data from the most recent test indicates that your adaptive algorithms have reduced the signal latency by 14%. However, there are still fluctuations in the quantum synchronization that need to be addressed." 14% is a good start," Adam said. "I'll run another set of adjustments and see if we can get that number even higher." "Proceed," Zaya said, her attention once again focused on the projections. Adam nodded and began entering the new parameters into his workstation. As he worked, he couldn't help but feel a growing sense of camaraderie with Zaya. Their interactions, though still marked by her formal demeanor, were becoming less rigid. She was engaging with him more, even if only in small ways. It wasn't much, but it was progress. And in a place as complex and unfamiliar as Helios, any progress felt like a step in the right direction. Chapter 6: Fractured Loyalties. The conference room felt unusually small, despite its high ceilings and luminous walls. Adam sat at the table, his shoulders tense, as Zaya stood nearby, scrolling through a projection on her datapad. Her expression was as measured as always, but Adam could sense the unease in the way she repeatedly double-checked her calculations. "Any updates from your council?" Adam asked, breaking the heavy silence. Zaya paused, her fingers hovering above the screen. "They have expressed concern regarding our progress." Adam frowned. "Concern? We've been ahead of schedule on every milestone so far." "It is not about the timeline," Zaya said. "It is about the nature of our collaboration. Some members of the council believe I have become overly reliant on your methods." Adam set his hands on the table. "Overly reliant? All we've done is share knowledge and work together. Isn't that the whole point of this project?" "It was the initial point," Zaya replied, her tone clipped. "However, certain individuals feel that I have compromised my objectivity by adopting some of your approaches." "Compromised?" Adam echoed. "Because you found a more efficient way to get things done?" Zaya's expression tightened. "They would not phrase it that way." Adam stood, his frustration bubbling over. "This is ridiculous. We've made progress that neither of us could have achieved alone. And now they're punishing you for it." Zaya's sharp gaze met his. "Adam, I do not need your outrage. I need solutions." Adam sighed and rubbed his temple. "Fine. What do you need me to do?" "Nothing for now," Zaya said, turning back to her datapad. "I must present a revised proposal to the council tomorrow. I will emphasize that our collaboration has remained within the agreed-upon parameters. And if they don't accept it? Adam asked. Zaya didn't respond immediately. Instead, she closed her datapad and folded her arms. If they do not accept it, they may request my reassignment. In that case, I will no longer be involved in this project. Adam's stomach dropped. Reassignment? You mean they'd pull you off the team entirely? It is a possibility, Zaya said, her voice steady but quiet. Adam took a step closer. And what about the work we've done? The progress we've made? Doesn't that count for anything? It may not matter, Zaya admitted. The Council's primary concern is maintaining their ideological integrity. If they perceive that I have compromised it, my contributions will be deemed irrelevant. Adam was silent for a moment, then said, You know this isn't fair, right? Fairness is not a factor, Zaya said. It is their decision to make. Well, maybe I can talk to them, Adam offered. Explain that this is about results, not ideology. Zaya shook her head. That would only reinforce their belief that I have allowed human influence to cloud my judgment. It would be counterproductive. Adam let out a long breath. So what happens now? For now, Zaya said, I must focus on preparing my proposal. There is nothing more to be done until I receive their response. Adam hesitated, then nodded. All right, but if you need anything, I will let you know, Zaya said firmly. Okay, Adam said quietly. Zaya turned back to her work, leaving Adam standing there, feeling a growing knot of frustration and helplessness. He wanted to do more, to fight back against the unfairness of the situation, but he knew Zaya was right. Pushing too hard could make things worse. Still, he couldn't shake the feeling that this wasn't just about their project. It was about trust, about understanding. About finding common ground in a world where logic and emotion often clashed. And right now, all Adam could do was wait. Chapter 7, The Breaking Point. The research facility was unusually quiet. Adam leaned against the console in the main lab, arms crossed, his brow furrowed. Zaya stood across from him, her usual composure visibly strained. She stared at the holographic display, adjusting data fields with an almost mechanical precision. This is getting ridiculous, Adam said, breaking the silence. How many more hoops do we have to jump through before the council actually listens? It is not about the number of tasks, Zaya replied, her voice clipped. It is about their perception of control. Control, Adam repeated, shaking his head. We've done everything they've asked. We've shown them progress real results. But it's never enough. What do they want from us? Zaya didn't answer immediately. Instead, she tapped a few more commands into the console. Finally, she said, they want to ensure that their ideals remain intact. That their methodologies remain untainted. Adam let out a sharp breath. Untainted? What's that supposed to mean? We're collaborating, not contaminating their way of life. To some, the distinction is irrelevant, Zaya said, her gaze fixed on the display. Well, maybe they need to learn the difference, Adam shot back. Zaya turned to face him, her silver eyes narrowing. Do you believe I have not tried to explain? That I have not defended our work at every opportunity? Adam paused, his frustration faltering. No, I didn't mean it that way. I know you've been fighting for this project. He ran a hand through his hair. It feels like we're stuck in a loop. No matter what we do, it's never good enough. Zaya regarded him for a moment before turning back to her console. I understand your frustration. However, we must remain focused. There is still a chance to convince them. Adam stepped closer. What if we can't? What if no matter how many improvements we make, they still find a reason to shut us down? That is a possibility, Zaya admitted. But it is not one I can afford to dwell on. I must present the data as objectively as possible and hope it is sufficient. Adam exhaled slowly. You keep saying hope like it's something foreign. But you're the one who told me that logic and data should always guide decisions. So what's changed? Zaya hesitated, her hands hovering above the controls. Perhaps I have reconsidered certain principles. Adam blinked, caught off guard by the admission. You're saying you've changed your mind? Not entirely, Zaya said. But I have come to see value in perspectives I once dismissed. That is the extent of my hope, as you call it. Adam allowed a faint smile to form. Well, I'll take that as progress. Zaya glanced at him. Do not misinterpret my words as a shift in my stance. I am still bound by the council's expectations. Sure, Adam said, the smile not fading. But even a little shift can make a big difference. Before Zaya could respond, the console emitted a soft chime. She looked down at the display, her expression unreadable. The council has scheduled another review session. We will present our findings tomorrow. Adam straightened. What time? Midday, Zaya said. All right, Adam replied. Then we'll make sure everything's ready. No loose ends. Zaya gave a small nod. Agreed. For the rest of the day, the two of them worked in silence, each focused on their respective tasks. Despite the weight of the upcoming review, Adam found himself more determined than ever. They had come too far to let it all fall apart now. Chapter 8, Love Without Borders. Adam stood at the edge of the observation deck, the endless expanse of Helios stretching out before him. The city shimmered in the distance, its golden spires glowing faintly under the light of twin moons. He leaned against the cool railing, his thoughts racing. Today, everything was going to change one way or another. Zaya approached quietly, her footsteps barely audible on the polished floor. "You were early." "I needed a minute," Adam replied without looking at her. "Clear my head." She stepped closer, the soft glow of the deck's ambient lighting catching the silvery tones in her hair. "This review will not be easy." "I know," Adam said, turning to face her. "But we've done everything we can. We've shown them the value of our collaboration, of what we can accomplish when we combine our strengths. If that's not enough for them, then maybe it never will be." Zaya regarded him silently for a moment, then said, "You are more certain of the outcome than I am." "I don't know about certain," Adam admitted, "but I do know that what we've built here is important. I don't regret a second of it." Her gaze lingered on him, her expression softening in a way that was rare. "Nor do I." The admission caught him off guard. For weeks, she had been steadfast in her logic, her tone always measured. Now, there was a warmth in her voice he hadn't heard before. "Zaya," he began, but she held up a hand. "I must speak," she said firmly. "Before this meeting begins, there is something you need to understand. Working with you has challenged my views, my methods, and my understanding of what is possible. You have brought unpredictability and emotion into a process that was once solely governed by logic. And though I resisted it at first, I have come to see its value." Adam felt his throat tighten, his voice barely above a whisper. "You really mean that?" "Yes," she said, her gaze steady. "It has not been an easy realization, but it is one I cannot ignore." For a moment, they stood in silence, the weight of her words settling between them. Adam could feel his heart pounding, the walls he had sensed between them finally crumbling. Before he could respond, the door to the observation deck slid open and Elias strode in. "Hey, you two. The council's ready for you." Adam and Zaya exchanged a glance, the spell of the moment broken. Adam nodded, turning to follow Elias. Zaya walked beside him, her expression once again composed, though Adam could still sense the shift in her demeanor. The council chamber was as imposing as ever. The Hellion council members sat in a perfect arc, their luminous eyes fixed on the two of them as they stepped forward. Adam could feel the weight of their scrutiny, but he forced himself to stand tall. Zaya took the lead, presenting their findings with the same precision and confidence that had carried her through countless sessions. Adam supported her when needed, answering technical questions and explaining how their joint efforts had led to breakthroughs neither of their species could have achieved alone. The council listened, their expressions as inscrutable as always. When Zaya finished, there was a long pause. Then the lead counselor spoke. "Your work has yielded measurable results," the counselor said. "However, the manner in which these results were achieved raises questions." Adam braced himself, but Zaya was already responding. "The methods employed were necessary to overcome the limitations of working in isolation. Through collaboration, we achieved efficiencies that would not have been possible otherwise. This does not compromise our integrity, it enhances our understanding of what is possible." The counselor regarded her closely. "And you believe this collaboration should continue?" "Yes," Zaya said without hesitation. "It has proven its worth." Another pause, then the counselor turned to the others. "We will deliberate." Adam and Zaya were escorted out of the chamber and into a waiting room. The silence between them was heavy, but Adam finally broke it. "Do you think it's enough?" he asked. "It is as much as we can provide," Zaya replied. Now we wait. Minutes felt like hours, but eventually the door opened. The counselor stepped in, their expression neutral. After thorough consideration, the counselor said, "We have decided to allow your collaboration to continue. Your results warrant further exploration." Adam exhaled, relief flooding through him. He glanced at Zaya, who gave a small nod. Though her expression remained composed, he could see the faintest flicker of satisfaction in her eyes. As they walked out of the building, Elias caught up with them. "Not bad," he said, clapping Adam on the back. "Not bad at all." Adam smiled, but his gaze shifted to Zaya. "We couldn't have done it without you," he said. Zaya looked at him, her voice steady. "We could not have done it without each other." For the first time, Adam felt that their partnership had truly become something more. It wasn't just about data or diplomacy anymore. It was about trust, understanding, and the kind of connection that could bridge even the widest gap between worlds.